Hi, good morning to everyone. When I was a little boy, I used to play a Congkak game with my father. The clacking of the key was a lullaby that lured me into a dream that creating something impactful in my childhood memory. Thank you for our speaker and audience for having me. Let me start by saying a few words about my own background. My name is Muhammad Amirul Mukminin. Friend call me Amirul or Mukminin sometimes. I am a student from Open University Malaysia under program Bachelor of Management with honor. My matriculation number is 930711 0754811001. For this purpose of this course OUMH 1303 English Oral Communication, I am going to present to you today about how to play Congkak game. I will show to you example of Congkak board. This is a Congkak board. Congkak is a traditional Malay game that often played as indoor activity or as competition. Oftenly, it uses the hollow perforated wooden plank or holes on the ground and usually by using rubber seed or marble to play a game where the opponent complete to get the most shell into their storehouse. Congkak used to be a game that was played by a woman and children. It is a really great game for anyone or any age. The game is similar to Mancala and it is popular in many countries of the world. Congkak is quite easy to learn. So, if all of you have the Congkak board, you can learn the rules and start playing right away. There are two methods that I will present before we start playing Congkak. These two methods will completely explain about the step and the procedure to play Congkak games. Firstly, I am going to present the method number 1 with focusing on rule before we start the game. Method number 1, step number 1. We need to familiarize ourselves with the game board and piece. In Congkak set, there are two components which are the Congkak board and the Congkak piece. The Congkak are shaped like a boat and can be made from different types of wood or by digging holes on the ground. There are 5 to 7 holes that are known as village, and at the end both of the main hole is known as home. The length of the 7-hole board is usually around 80 cm wide and the diameter of 7 hole is usually about 80 cm. Method 1, step 2. First, we need to understand the objective of the game. The objective of Congkak is to move our shell into our storehouse that is situated on the left hand side. We move our shell by picking up all the shell into one of our house and depositing into each of the houses to the left. The first person to empty all the houses is the winner. But remember, we may also put one shell into our storehouse but do not put any shell into our opponent's storehouse. If we drop any shell into an empty house that we own, then we get to get all the shell from our opponent house that is across from our house and put them into our storehouse. Method 1, step 3. Set up the game. Place the Congkak board on the level playing surface between us and our opponent. We should each have 49 shell or Congkak seed each. Before the game starts, fill our 7 houses with the 7 shell of Congkak seed. Make sure that our opponent does the same. Both of us should leave our storehouse empty. Method 1, step 4. We need to decide who will go first. Take a moment to decide who will take the first turn. We can determine by who will get the first by flipping a coin, allowing the youngest to play or to go first, or letting the person who won the last game you played together go first. Now, I am going to present method 2 that focusing while playing the Congkak game. Method 2, step 1. We scoot up all the shell or seed in any house on our side. Then, we drop a shell into the next house and we continue depositing on shell into every houses in a clockwise fashion. We also drop a shell into our storehouse each time we pass, but do not deposit any shell into your opponent's storehouse. Method 2, step 2. Take another turn. If we deposit into our last shell into our own storehouse, if the last shell that you deposit fall into our own storehouse, then we get to take another turn. In this case, we may scoop up the shell from other of our house and deposit them into other houses. Method 2, step 3. Skip a turn if we deposit our last shell into one of our opponent empty storehouse. Empty storehouse on our opponent side of the board will create an obstacle for us. During the turn, if we drop our last shell into one of our opponent empty houses, then we will lose a turn. Try our best to avoid our opponent empty houses so that we do not lose any turn. Method 2, step 4. Collect our opponent's shell if we deposit our last shell into our own empty storehouses. The goal of Congkak is to have the most shell in our storehouse in the end of the game. During a turn, if we manage to drop our last shell into an empty house on our side of the board, then we get to collect all the shells that are opposite that house. Remember to take the shell from the corresponding house on our opponent's side of the board and put them into our storehouse. Method 2, step 4. Finally, we come to the last step. After we and our opponent have both emptied our houses, the game is over. We need to count up all the shell into our storehouse and determine a winner. Count up all the shell into our storehouse. Wherever have the most shell will be the winner. Based on my presentation, I think we already know well on how to play Congkak game. Congkak is an old traditional game, but still various people enjoy playing it. I will end my presentation by encourage everyone should try to promote this traditional of playing Congkak games. In this way, our culture practice will be moved from generation to generation. Thank you.